Subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon.
Reach out and
Oh, nice.
ask, about doing that one. So
But no, I just thought about that this morning. I was like, oh,
we are starting with Goodwill because it opens earlier.
oh, nice.
And then we're going.
God, we do not need another Chick-fil-A.
Camp Flee.
Camp Flea. Nice. That one's pretty good.
Oh, did you want to do
Do you want me to?
that?
Okay.
Dropping stuff.
The time is 10 a.m.
Hello, and thank you for tuning in to the Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service. My name is Madeline. I'm here with Tony. We invite you to listen to our broadcast both live and on demand. Our live sessions are available on the Blind Community Thrift Store YouTube channel Monday through Friday between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. each week. Additionally, you can access on-demand content through the Audio Reader Network, which offers a wide range of audio materials for the visually impaired community. To explore content from the Audio Reader Network, please visit www.reader.ku.edu. The site provides details about accessing content via Amazon Alexa, Audio Reader Network mobile app, and information on receiving a radio to listen to the broadcast by KSMU Radio. All broadcasts are played over KSMU's subcarrier airwaves at 67 kHz on 91.1 from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Contact Audio Reader Network for more information on receiving a pre-programmed radio.
Good morning. It looks like the Coffee Ethic, along with a new co-owner, is going to open a second location on the MSU campus. Ryan Collins with the Springfield Daily Citizen brings us this story that begins with a photo of the new Springfield location inside the Heights House on Missouri State University's campus. And it looks like that opened just a few days ago, back on the 17th. The Coffee Ethic opened a new coffee shop inside the Heights House on the west end of Missouri State University's campus on August 17th. The store marks the second location of the popular Springfield Coffee Company. It also marks the first major move by the company since it added a new owner. In February 2026, Jim Wilson became a 50% owner of the Coffee Ethic, purchasing the stake in the company from owner and founder Michelle Billionis, Wilson said August 20th. Wilson's wife and business partner, Ginger Holzer, will also be involved in managing the company. Wilson formerly co-owned Best of Luck Beer Hall in downtown Springfield, he said. After selling that business, he made the plunge into the Coffee Ethic. We sold Best of Luck at the same time that I invested in the Coffee Ethic, Wilson said. So I kind of switched from beer to coffee. The new MSU location is housed in a spot that previously held another cafe, 1905 Market. The new location features almost the full line of coffee, but also sells grab-and-go, convenience-style drinks and snacks. The 1905 was a market, kind of a convenience store that had coffee, and now a coffee shop that has a market in it, Wilson said. So I think we've kind of completely flipped it around. Food-wise, the new toned-down coffee shop will only sell baked goods and pre-made items in the convenience section. It will not sell full meals like the coffee company offers at its flagship location in downtown Springfield. Drink-wise, it offers about 80% of what the downtown location offers, Wilson said. There is a cafeteria in the same building as the Coffee Ethic's new coffee shop. We basically have a big old restaurant right next to us, Wilson said, so we're not going to try to do food. Heights House is an MSU residence hall that opened in 2022 and houses over 400 students, according to the facility's website. The residence hall hosts a dining center and convenience store on the ground level. Tom Billionis founded the Coffee Ethic in 2007, and it has become a staple of downtown Springfield. Tom Billionis passed away in 2016, and his wife Michelle took ownership of the company. The flagship shop is located on the downtown square. Billionis is also co-owner of the Cherry Picker. The Coffee Ethic is fully staffed at its new venture on the MSU campus, sharing some employees with the Cherry Picker, Wilson said. And there are a couple of photos here of the new location. The first one is kind of a opening view as you step into the coffee shop, and it's very modern and minimalist. There's a lot of bare wood and tile and white painted brick. And you can see the refrigerated cooler section with all of their beverages and stuff to purchase as convenience items, as well as some packaged snacks available in baskets here. There is a seating area as well. I see a table for two, as well as a little couch and chair area. Additionally, we can see some of the coffee that they're roasting here. We can see their beans and their packaging. Looks like they have versions that include Peru, Rwanda, Ritual Blend, and Decaf. So, better go try out that new coffee shop.
Here on Springfield Daily Citizen, zombies, Shakespeare, and beer. Queen City Shakespeare Co. has a fun weekend planned. Double feature will take place this weekend from Friday to Saturday at Mother's Brewing Company with Hamlet vs. Zombies and a Drunk Shakespeare fundraiser. If you like your Shakespeare as traditional as possible, avert your eyes. Queen City Shakespeare Co. has a fun outside-of-the-box double feature planned for audiences this weekend inside a barrel house at Mother's Brewing Company. Both nights feature Hamlet vs. Zombies at 6 p.m., followed by the company's Drunk Shakespeare fundraiser, Shakespeare on Tap, The Taming of the Brew, at 8 p.m. Seating will be general admission, and tickets are $20 for the Hamlet vs. Zombies and $25 for the Taming of the Brew, though you can see both shows for $40. Tickets may be purchased online in advance at Queen City Shakespeare Company's website or at the door. We wanted to make sure that people had access to both, Amy Newsom, executive director of Queen City Shakespeare Co., said before rehearsals on August 18th. It's going to be a fun, great night. Why would you not want a full night of theater? Mother's is a great brewery, and they've got food, and it's a nice space. And don't worry if you don't have a lot of Shakespeare knowledge. Taming of the Brew is for people who might have an interest in Shakespeare, but are a little intimidated by it, said Andrew Mangus, Queen City Shakespeare Co.'s technical director. We go through scene by scene and have a master of ceremonies explaining what's going to happen. So if you're not a Shakespeare person, but you're interested in live theater, come check it out. It's going to be a fun time. Hamlet vs. Zombies is a Springfield original written by Bryant Turnage, Queen City Shakespeare Co.'s creative director, and Jeff Jenkins. It's being revived 15 years after its debut. Several original cast members are returning, including Jennifer Eifert and Sean Teague as Gertrude and Claudius. The play has been performed at several fringe festivals since its debut and featured at Devising Original Theater, Springfield's Fringe Festival, back in July. In this twisted take on Shakespeare's tragedy, the melancholy Dane springs into action when he learns that newly crowned King Claudius not only killed his father, but also intends to create an army of brain-eating zombies to combat the pesky Norwegian forces led by the Fortinbras, according to Queen City Shakespeare Co. website. Newsom said the play starts off pretty normal before going off the rails. There are lots of zombie references because Bryant's very good at that, he said. And then to see Jonah Drake in the lead role is so fun. Ever since I first saw it, I've always said that I want to be in it, and this is the third time I've not been able to be in it. It's just such a fun script, and it's always done really well here, and with Bryant being our creative director, it just makes sense. This is a classic in our community, so why not celebrate that? The Taming of the Brew, meanwhile, is based on a script adapted from Shakespeare's The Taming of the Shrew by Magnus, who is also directing the show. He put a unique and unpredictable spin on the classic. Also, the actors will be drinking while they perform. Honestly, it's a lot of fun, said Magnus. He is the master of ceremonies in last year's Shakespeare on Tap, Romeo and Julie Ale. We take what we do very seriously and how we handle it safely. So when we're drinking on stage, we're always doing it from a safety perspective, making sure no one is getting too drunk. The goal is to be at that point where you're loose enough, where you're not overthinking what you're doing, and it actually just helps make the performance a little bit more chaotic, but not uncontrolled. Magnus says The Taming of the Shrew is already a funny show, so he tried to make it story points and comedic moments shine. At that same time, it's a challenging script to work with. The hardest part with The Taming of the Shrew is that it's one of Shakespeare's most controversial pieces because it deals with the issues of abuse. We're trying to make the show the joke and never the issues of abuse. And so that is a very fine line to dance within this production and writing the script out. How do I make the overall show the joke while having to cut it in half, essentially? That was the hard part of this. To help move things along, Magnus added a master of drinking to counteract the master of ceremonies role. It's the MC's job to provide context and information about what's going on in the audience. The master of drinking is just there for fun and a good time part, Magnus said. And so anytime the master of ceremonies is like, hey, we need to explain why this is happening within the context of the history of why Shakespeare's writing it, the master of drinking is there to be like, nope, we're moving on. This is boring. And it gets to a point where it does boil over and we see the altercations between those two over what's going on. Audiences are encouraged to bring cash into Taming of the Brew as it is a fundraiser. Queen City Shakespeare Co. will hold several auctions throughout the evening, allowing audience members to choose how to make the performance harder on the cast or even punish other audience members. We're also auctioning off one of the roles for the show, Magnus said. In The Taming of the Shrew, there are two sisters, Kate, the main sister, who is the shrew that no one likes or wants to marry, and Bianca, the younger sister who's pretty and everyone wants to marry. She is used primarily as a plot device within the show. So I cut all of her lines, and we're going to auction the role off to somebody in the audience so they can be like, I want to have everyone tell me I'm pretty for the next hour and a half. That's going to be one of our more fun auction items. Newsom says that money raised by Shakespeare on Tap will fundraise the season-ending production of Macbeth in October and help fund the 2027 season. This is our chance to make some money, she said. If you want to keep supporting us, this would be the best time to do it. Queen City Shakespeare Co. is Springfield's newest theater company. It's now in its second season of finding its legs in a busy scene. Newsom said she's played with the level of interest coming from the community. It's ultimately still solidifying what our foundation is going to look like, and scaling appropriately has been kind of our big thing. We just want to make sure that we're not taking on too much too fast because we don't want to burn people out. We want to keep it fun, and we want people to have fun with this. We don't want to overwork them. We want to make sure that they're only taking on what they can handle. We're volunteers, top to bottom. None of us get paid to do this, so it's really important that we're not asking too much of people because time is expensive. The team is working hard right now, producing 2 shows in the same weekend while holding auditions for Macbeth. Newsom called it a mini proof of concept. I've said from the beginning that my long-term goal is a festival at some point, whether that's a Shakespeare festival or a Renaissance festival, she said. I want to be able to bring that here so people don't have to travel. Magnus, meanwhile, said this flurry of activity demonstrates that the company is willing to try anything. We are working very hard to make this an enjoyable experience, he said. It really just says that we're very ambitious in what we're doing and trying to grow as a company and do big, fun, cool things. Have suggestions? Newsom said Queen City Shakespeare Co. is all ears. I just want to support making art. So even if that means they're slightly intimidated by it, we're like, no, you can do it. Let's try, she said.
And it looks like Chipotle is going to open a new restaurant in North Springfield by the end of the year. Ryan Collins with the Springfield Daily Citizen brings us this story that begins with a photo of a building under construction. Looks like it is mostly erected at this point. It's a wood structure. Does not have an exterior on all the sides yet, but it's coming along nicely. Chipotle Mexican Grill is doubling down on Springfield and plans to open its 4th Queen City location on the north side of town by the year's end. In just 2 years, the fast casual franchise doubled its footprint in Springfield to 4 locations. The company is considering a location in Ozark as well, according to previous Daily Citizen reporting. The 4th Springfield Chipotle is being constructed at 2746 North Kansas Expressway. The building that previously occupied the property was demolished in early 2025 and previously housed Golden Corral, which permanently closed in 2024. The 4th Chipotle in Springfield aims to open to customers by the end of 2026. Annie Gradinger, senior analyst in external communications with Chipotle, said in an August 19th email to the Daily Citizen. As of August 20th, crews were on site constructing the new ground-up building. The fast casual burrito chain said Springfield fits into the company's growth trajectory. Quote, we are always looking for communities where we can serve classically cooked real food and establish new local partnerships, and we believe Springfield continues to be a great fit, Gradinger said in the email. The company operates 3 other restaurants in Springfield. The 3rd Chipotle opened on East Sunshine Street in late 2025. The article here ends with a photo of the map showing all of those locations. Looks like we have one on South Campbell Avenue. I actually know where that one is, near Walnut Lawn. Another one here on East Sunshine Street. Looks like that's going to be between Glenstone and 65 there. One on St. Louis Street, and that would be one of the earlier ones. That is National and St. Louis. And now this new one up on North Kansas, up by 44.
Springfield Daily Citizen brings us developers break ground on massive 229-acre housing project in Ozark. The first houses in the huge large-scale Marabella development near James River Church could be built this winter. We start off with a picture of a photo concept of what the community pool planned for the Ozarks Marabella development. Looks like they have a children's splash pad and much area to lounge and look at a beautiful scenic waterfall. Project leaders and Ozark City officials broke ground on the massive Marabella planned unit development Thursday, August 20th, marking the start of a development that will create almost 800 housing units in a field east of James River Church. Ozark Mayor Don Current said the project will create a variety of housing options for residents and for families of all ages, size, stage, and walks of life, whether it's apartment, traditional style family home, townhomes, or patio homes. And here we have a very fun picture of the construction workers yesterday breaking ground, throwing some dirt in the air with their shovels. Spanning 229 acres between Farmer Branch and Blue Stem Roads, the project will include about 4 miles of integrated walking trails, neighborhood business properties, a 6,000 square foot pool, pickleball courts, and other shared spaces for recreation. The developers aim to bring construction on the first phase of a single-family homes this winter, according to the Director of Development, Mark Trigg. My apologies. This is probably a 4 to 5 year project. It's hard to say or pinpoint exactly, but this is a massive project and we want to do it right, he said. Here we have a photo of Mark Trigg, and he is all smiles to start breaking ground. Trigg said the goal for the Marabella is to become a life cycle community. What I mean by that is a very wide diversity in housing, so everything from multifamily to entry-level type homes to bigger estate-size homes, he said. Across 18 phases of development, the project will create 536 single-family residential lots of varying sizes, 1 phase of townhomes and 1 phase of multifamily housing with a maximum height of 3 stories, according to a press release. There will also be 10 commercial lots and about 48 acres of green space, making up more than 20% of Marabella's total footprint, the Daily Citizen previously reported. The neighborhood aims to be easily walkable with trails connecting homes to businesses and green space. A trail on the south border of the neighborhood will be open to the public, eventually connecting to the Chadwick Flyer Trail, Trigg said. Marabella LLC, the property owner and developer, is registered to Steve and Connie Faria of the Springfield area. They develop lakefront properties in the Branson area through Faria Resorts. Marabella has been years in the making, Show Me Christian County CEO Kristen Hallstein said on August 20th. The project has garnered support from SMCC, the Ozark Chamber of Commerce, and elected officials. In November of 2025, Ozark's Board of Aldermen voted unanimously in favor of a series of bills that gave developers the green light to start working on Marabella. City staff supported the planned development because the diverse housing types and preservation of green space align with the goals from Ozark's comprehensive plan, according to previous reporting from the Daily Citizen. Once completed, the development will have 3 entrances, Trigg said. The developers are completing improvements to a few roads surrounding the site. Farmers Branch Road will be widened with a new right and left turn lane spanning three-fourths of a mile alongside the development, Marabella LLC representative Mike Roberts stated during an October 20th, 2025 Board of Aldermen meeting. The developers will also widen Southern View Road on the north side of the project and Blue Stem Road on the east side, adding culverts to assist with the water runoff. The site of Marabella is subject of an ongoing lawsuit involving the city of Springfield. Natural gas provider Spire Missouri Inc. sued the city in June, alleging that Springfield was encroaching on Spire's certified service territory in the area of the development. The Missouri Public Service Commission permitted Spire to serve residents in the area in 1986, but Springfield is attempting to provide natural gas to people in the area, and the suit alleges. To provide electricity for the neighborhood, Marabella secured a territory swap between Liberty Utilities and Ozark Electrical Cooperative for the property. The Missouri Public Service Commission approved this change in June of 2025.
And a Springfield man has been sentenced to 7 years for assaulting a U.S. Postal Service worker. Jack McGee from the Springfield Daily Citizen brings us this story that begins with a booking photo of Courtney Ellis taken by the Greene County Sheriff's Office, where he is standing in front of that gray cinder block wall with long, unkempt hair. and wearing a striped scrub jail uniform. A Springfield man was sentenced in federal court August 18th for assaulting a U.S. Postal Service worker in June 2025 after pleading guilty earlier this year. Courtney J. Ellis, age 45, was sentenced by Judge M. Douglas Hartpool to 7 years, to be followed by 3 years of supervised release for assaulting a postal worker while he was performing his official duties, according to a press release from the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Western District of Missouri. According to court documents, Ellis struck the victim on the head with a wooden board while the worker was delivering mail to Ellis's address in the 1900 block of South Virginia Avenue on June 18, 2025, and subsequently told the postal employee, who was delivering mail along that route for the first time and was wearing a USPS uniform and a marked USPS delivery vehicle, that he didn't belong in the neighborhood. The postal worker, identified in court documents as CH, was believed the attack was based on race, according to previous reporting. The letter carrier is black and Ellis is white. After striking the victim, Ellis followed him back to his vehicle, where he continued to yell and swear at him through a closed window. CH was taken by ambulance to the hospital. He suffered a concussion. And in other public safety news, Springfield police have identified a 62-year-old motorcyclist who died in a Monday, August 17th accident as Robin Parker, aged 62, of Springfield. Steve Pokin with the Springfield Daily Citizen brings us this story that says a 2020 Dodge Ram pickup driven by Melvin Summerfield, age 78, of Fordland, was eastbound on Kearney Street in the center lane and turned left to go north on Patterson at 9:14 a.m. Parker was riding a 2004 Yamaha motorcycle west on Kearney and hit the pickup as it was turning, according to a news release from the Springfield Police Department. Parker was transported to the hospital where she died. Parker's family was notified of her death. The circumstances of the crash are part of an ongoing investigation. Anyone with information is asked to contact the Springfield Police Department at 417-864-1810 or make an anonymous tip to Crime Stoppers at 417-869-TIPS. That's 8477. Or online at p3tips.com. This was Springfield's 11th fatal motor vehicle crash in 2026, which has resulted in 12 deaths.
Springfield Daily Citizen, family deported to Venezuela after traffic stop in Christian County. And here we have a photo of the family. It looks like they're celebrating with their child. Looks like probably some other busier place, Miami, Florida. That's where, taken back in 2024. A family who fled Venezuela and sought political asylum in the U.S. has been forced to return, despite their fears of continued persecution after the Christian County Sheriff stopped one family member in traffic near Highlandville this year. Angel Acosta Ramirez, 43, was reached by phone on August 4th through an interpreter. He told the Springfield Daily Citizen reporter that his life since being deported has been really hard, with his family now struggling to make enough money to survive. I decided to immigrate mostly for my wife and my son, Acosta Ramirez said. Acosta Ramirez once had a career as a mechanical engineer. His 30-year-old wife, Maria Fernanda Ajaro Romero, had been a nurse. Their lives were derailed after Acosta Ramirez was targeted by agents of Venezuela's dominant political regime, he said. And their journey to the Ozarks involved a month of hard travel, a treacherous river crossing, detainment, multiple moves, and 3 weeks of sleeping on the streets. Ramirez and his family members told the Daily Citizen that they applied for asylum and obtained visas authorizing them to work in the U.S. for 1 year. Ramirez and his wife lived, worked, and sent their 4-year-old son Santiago to school in Branson. As the Daily Citizen continues to cover immigration issues and report on the Greene County Jail's contract that leads to hundreds of immigration and customs enforcement detainees being held at the facility daily, Acosta Ramirez and Ariel Romero, once inmates in the jail, agreed to share their story over several interviews this year to give the community a better understanding of the personal impact of changes at the federal and local level. In early 2026, Ramirez was arrested during a traffic stop and accused of being in the country illegally. He called his wife and instructed her to bring their documents to the jail. Upon arriving, he said his wife was also arrested. A reporter initially spoke to Romero in February 2026 while she was detained in the Greene County Jail. The Daily Citizen attempted to obtain her immigration records from the federal government. Although most of those record requests were denied, the Daily Citizen received Christian County's arrest reports for both the husband and the wife. Ramirez and his mother, who is still living in the Branson area, spoke to a reporter in July and August. At 5:40 a.m. on January 2nd, Sheriff Brad Cole stopped Acosta Ramirez near the 29-mile marker on Highway 65, according to an arrest report. Ramirez was speeding at 90 miles per hour, the report states. The report further says that during the traffic stop, the sheriff discovered Ramirez had entered the country illegally prior to requesting asylum. He was booked into the Christian County Jail on an immigration hold, according to the document. An arrest report for Romero indicates that she was booked into the Christian County Jail on a hold for ICE around 8:30 a.m. that same day with no other charges. They were both later transferred to the Greene County Jail. Ramirez denied he had been speeding and claimed he was unaware he had been cited for a traffic violation. He said he stopped to get gas on his way to work that morning and noticed an officer following him when he re-entered the highway. When I got there, I saw police around, but it didn't worry me because I knew I had all my papers. From the minute I got on 65, I noticed the police. During the traffic stop, Ramirez said a Spanish-speaking officer helped him communicate with the sheriff. He was questioned about how he entered the country and responded and that he sought asylum in 2022 and was authorized to work in the U.S. when he was arrested. Ramirez still believed there was a misunderstanding and that he would be released after officers looked at his documents. Through an interpreter, he explained that this is why he felt safe to call his wife and instruct her to bring the documents to the sheriff's office. However, when Romero arrived with the documents, she was also placed under arrest. I asked him, what have we done wrong? Why are you doing this? Have we committed a crime? And they said, no, but you're under arrest. Romero said through an interpreter back in February. The couple was unaware of Trump administration move to end temporary protected status for migrants from more than a dozen countries, including Venezuela, which likely impacted their asylum cases. Reached by phone on August 7th, the sheriff said he did not remember interacting with Acosta Ramirez or the January 2nd, 2026 traffic stop that caused the family to be deported after almost 3.5 years in the U.S. If they were stopped on a traffic stop, then it could have been something where they committed a traffic violation, Cole said. Online court records show Cole ticketed Acosta Ramirez for speeding 20 to 25 miles per hour over the speed limit. A warrant was issued for his arrest on March 26th after he failed to appear at his scheduled court date. At that point, Acosta Ramirez had already been deported. After being arrested, Acosta Ramirez spent 6 weeks in the Greene County Jail before his deportation date. Arijoa Romero was detained for 13 weeks. When asked in late February whether the family was fearful of returning to Venezuela, Romero said, through an interpreter, yes, but we don't have any choice. The most stressful part of being detained, Ramirez said, was being separated from his wife and trying to figure out what would happen to their son. I don't understand why they separated all of us. According to the U.S. Department of State, Venezuela is facing significant human rights issues with credible reports of unlawful or arbitrary killings and torture in addition to other crimes against humanity. Residents are fleeing en masse due to rampant violence, inflation, and shortages of food and medicine, according to a July report by the UN Refugee Agency. The U.S. government in 2021 granted migrants from Venezuela temporary protected status, according to a release from the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, providing Venezuelan immigrants with work permits and preventing them from being deported to their home country due to extraordinary conditions. Since March 2025, the Trump administration has revoked or announced a plan to terminate the TPS for over 1 million people in the U.S., according to a report from the American Immigration Council. This includes about 600,000 people who immigrated here from Venezuela. Romero was held up in jail for months while trying to ensure that their son, Santiago, would not be left behind in the U.S. Santiago is on the autism spectrum, and his grandmother in Branson was struggling to care for him full-time. While Santiago's parents were in jail, Ozark residents Denise Myers, an English and Spanish-speaking school teacher, learned about the situation and stepped in to help. A mutual friend asked Myers to be a compassionate presence with them in a really hard time. She said Myers ultimately found a local family who was able to temporarily care for Santiago. The 4-year-old initially had a court date set for late 2027. At this point, through the help of really amazing people that have volunteered through different organizations, we've been able to get that expedited so he can be reunited with his mom hopefully very soon and they can be deported together. Later that month, Romero and Santiago were reunited and deported together, joining Ramirez back in Venezuela. In 2022, Romero and Ramirez, Santiago, and Acosta Ramirez's parents made their way from Ecuador, where they had fled from Venezuela, to Eagle Pass, Texas. The family rode in train cars during most of the journey, but in Panama they were forced to walk for 7 or 8 days. They made their way through the Darien Gap, the roadless, rugged rainforest that bridges South and North America. Santiago became very ill, and Ramirez's mother injured her knee. It was really hard, Ramirez said. The hardest days were still ahead. The toughest stretch of the voyage was the trek through Mexico, where his family was fearful of the police. In August of 2022, the family reached the U.S.-Mexico border and they faced the fast-moving Rio Grande River, fed by 3 days of rain. They managed to get across safely with help from Border Patrol agents on the other side, Acosta Ramirez said. On U.S. soil, they were apprehended for crossing the border improperly and briefly detained. Federal agents gave them specific instructions. They needed to apply for asylum first, then receive Social Security numbers and work visas. A judge needed to hear their asylum case and determine whether it would be accepted. Acosta Ramirez and Arijo Romero said their family complied with these instructions. In 2022, NPR reported that a wave of migrants seeking asylum from Venezuela, Cuba, and Nicaragua had begun crossing the border at Eagle Pass, a community of about 28,000 residents. Border Patrol recorded more than 50,000 border apprehensions in the Del Rio sector, which includes Eagle Pass, in August 2022. Acosta Ramirez and his family got in touch with a couple of relatives who were living in the U.S. once they were released from detention in Texas. At first, they moved to Miami, where Acosta Ramirez said they wound up staying on the streets for about 3 weeks. Acosta Ramirez's mother found work in Branson through a family connection, leading him to move to Missouri with his wife and son. They lived in Branson for 1 year, he said, and while he was working as an Uber driver, Romero worked at a hotel. So many of the families I know that are being affected believe they are doing what they can to be here in the right way, contributing in the right way, trying to learn what to do, whether it's through asylum or anything, whatever documentations are needed, said Myers. They were here in good faith that it was safety net for their family to come out of an area where there was great oppression and justice was not sure, to a country that seemed that there would be a lot better place for their family to land, which is the story of any other family I've talked to that has been affected like this. The U.S. government's complicated and increasingly less available procedures for border entry have prompted many migrant families to enter through dangerous and unsanctioned routes. Since 2016, U.S. Customs and Border Patrol officers at the time blocked ports of entry at the southern border of the U.S. through a practice called metering, according to a July 2026 report by the American Immigration Council. The U.S. Supreme Court upheld metering as a lawful practice in a June 2026 ruling determining that CBP officers had no obligation to inspect people who approach ports of entry and that people seeking asylum at ports of entry do not necessarily have a right to access that process. The American Immigration Council argues that turning people away at ports of entry undermines orderly immigration practices by forcing migrants to remain in a dangerous limbo, often in Mexican border towns, for intermediate amounts of time. However, federal law states that any migrant who arrives in the U.S., whether by a designated port of arrival or elsewhere, may apply for asylum in accordance with the applicable laws. Improper entry is a misdemeanor offense punishable by up to 6 months in prison or a fine of $50 to $250 on the first attempt under U.S. law. Reached by phone on July 28th, Costa Ramirez's mother shared her perspective through an interpreter. The Daily Citizen agreed to grant her anonymity because she still lives in the Branson area and fears being arrested. We followed the process that was asked of us, she said. I don't understand still why they deported Maria Fernanda and Angel. It seems to me that they determined Maria Fernanda and Angel illegally. It really scared my son Angel because he had never done anything illegal to my knowledge. That's why I really believe that a lot of people are being deported unjustly. After speaking to a reporter in late February, Arijo Romero provided her consent and signature for the Daily Citizen to obtain her complete immigration case file. The Daily Citizen requested records from U.S. Customs and Border Protection, which holds immigrants' complete case files, the Department of Homeland Security, which holds reports of every documented entry and deportation from the U.S., and ICE, which holds a record of every interaction an immigrant has with federal authorities. Requests to CBP and DHS were denied. In July, ICE responded to the Daily Citizen's request by releasing a 2-page case summary of Romero's encounters with federal immigration agents. The report states that Romero entered the country in August of 2022 and was apprehended by federal agents. She was found to be alien present without parole and was subsequently denied and released on parole. A brief narrative in the case summary states that a juvenile and family management transportation and compliance unit took custody of the entire family at the Eagle Pass Border Patrol Station on August 19th of 2022 and transported them to an NGO called Missouri Border Hope. The family members were released together and paroled, it states. Romero was apprehended again in October of 2024 and January of 2026, according to the report. The document indicates that federal authorities never issued or served Romero any charging documents related to her case. She had no aggravated felony convictions, and she was cleared for voluntary departure before leaving the country. According to Romero, she and her husband had work visas that were valid until 2029, although the Daily Citizen was not able to obtain a record of this from the government. Acosta Ramirez's mother provided a photo that appears to show Romero's work visa with an expiration date of January 15th, 2029, as well as a separate photo that appears to show Santiago's Social Security card. A growing number of law enforcement agencies in southwest Missouri and across the U.S. are receiving authorization from ICE to interrogate, issue warrants, arrest, and prepare charging documents for people suspected of being in the country illegally. Section 287 of the Immigration and Nationality Act has existed since 1996, but it wasn't commonly utilized by local agencies before 2025. President Donald Trump in early 2025 compelled the Secretary of Homeland Security via executive order to equip local and state law enforcement agencies to perform immigration officer functions to the maximum extent permitted by law, citing 287 as a means. Some Springfield area lawmakers have urged local agencies to make use of the program and crack down harder on illegal immigration. Most recently, the Nixa Police Department entered a 287G agreement in August. The Christian County Sheriff's Office has participated in the program since last year. The Springfield Police Department and Greene County Sheriff's Office have not followed suit. However, the Greene County Jail began to detain hundreds of people at a time for ICE after entering a contract with the agency in 2024. Cole estimated that CCSO has been arresting about 30 people for ICE each month through its 287 agreement. He provided information about how CCSO proceeds during a traffic stop when a driver is suspected of being in the country illegally. We would initially use the same tools that we would with anybody. We would get their name, date of birth, social security number if they had one, and run those through the National Crime Information Center database and look that way. Now, obviously, if they don't have any kind of identification or anything like that, then they're suspected of being in the country illegally. We'll get all that information that we possibly can get, and we will contact the control center for ICE and have them run information through their database. It typically takes 5 to 10 minutes for ICE to check its database and give CCSO an answer about a suspected immigration status. Cole previously told the Daily Citizen that the main benefit of the 287G program is the efficiency of being able to handle that immigration enforcement process. In February, he said, "We don't have to wait for ICE to show up at the scene." He added that deputies do not target or track down people suspected of being in the country illegally. There's a lot of misinformation and negative media publicity that law enforcement is doing snatch and grabs, he said, and that is not what we are doing.
A video of a Stone County shootout has been viewed 3 million times, and the Highway Patrol says it shouldn't have been released. Harrison Keegan with the Springfield Daily Citizen brings us this story that says, harrowing body camera video surfaced online August 14th, chronicling the massive law enforcement response to a February shootout in rural Stone County that ended with one deputy killed, 2 others injured, and the suspect killed. Shared by the YouTube channel Midwest Safety, the 19-minute compilation that also includes snippets of written reports in the case has already been viewed more than 3 million times. But the Missouri State Highway Patrol, which released the materials to the YouTube channel, operators, following an open records request, now says the videos and reports should not have been made public. Quote, the records were released by the Missouri State Highway Patrol under the belief they were legally eligible for disclosure. Lieutenant Eric Brown, Acting Director of Public Information and Education, told the Daily Citizen in an August 18th email. It was subsequently discovered the investigation is ongoing. As a result, all records related to this investigation are currently closed. On February 23rd, authorities say Richard Byrd shot and killed Christian County Deputy Gabriel Ramirez during a traffic stop near Highlandville. Byrd then fled to a wooded area in Stone County where more than 100 law enforcement officers descended. Byrd engaged those officers in a shootout in which Christian County Deputy Michael Hislop was killed and 2 other deputies, Christian County Deputy Joshua Wall and Webster County Deputy Austin McCall, were injured but survived. The shootout ended with officers killing Byrd. Christian County Sheriff Brad Cole described the investigation into Byrd's actions that night and the police response as, quote, all-encompassing, including the traffic stop and the shootout. Captain Mark Stager with the Greene County Sheriff's Office is the lead investigator into the deadly encounter as part of a multi-jurisdictional agreement known as the Sheriff's Critical Incident Team, where Southwest Missouri law enforcement agencies partner to investigate shootings involving deputies from another department. Deputy Jonah Beatles, spokesperson for GCSO, said August 17th the Stone County Prosecuting Attorney's Office is reviewing the department's report from the shootout and will make the final decision and announcement of their findings. Reached by phone on Monday, Stone County Prosecutor Wesley Weber said parts of the investigation had been turned over to him for review, whether any criminal charges should be filed in the case. Weber emphasized that the case is still considered under investigation and he could not provide a timeline for when he might finish his review. Cole, the Christian County Sheriff, said the Highway Patrol releasing the videos and report now was a case of human error and the Records Division not doing its due diligence. It should have never been released, Cole said, but it's out there. Under the Sunshine Law, which lays out Missouri's rules regarding open meetings and records, law enforcement is required to produce a basic incident report following a police response consisting of the date, time, specific location, name of the victim, and immediate facts and circumstances surrounding the initial report of a crime or incident that is considered an open record, with certain exceptions. The full investigative report, which would include the full written report and materials like video and photos, are closed records until the investigation becomes inactive, according to the Sunshine Law. Dan Curry, the hotline attorney for the Missouri Press Association, said he does not believe the Highway Patrol violated the law in releasing investigative materials to the YouTube channel. He said the agency likely has some discretion in determining when they feel a case is inactive. In my view, the Highway Patrol didn't do anything wrong in releasing the videos, Curry said.
Unfortunately, the internet is forever. Springfield News leader, Ozarks Food Harvest provides 23 million meals across the region. Ozarks Food Harvest distributed 23 million meals across the Southwest Missouri during most recent fiscal year, supporting children, families, and seniors through a network of faith-based and community organizations. The food bank expanded several hunger relief programs between July 2025 and June of 2026, according to a community announcement. Those efforts included its mobile food pantry, weekend backpack program, and partnerships with more than 270 charities serving 28 counties. The organization also provided more than $700,000 in grants to local agencies working to address hunger. Ozarks Food Harvest said it invested nearly $2 million in food purchases during the year and distributed nearly 27 million pounds of food overall. More than 570,000 meals were provided through the Mobile Food Pantry program, which served more than 25,000 people facing food insecurity throughout Southwest Missouri. Hunger remains an urgent crisis in southwest Missouri as children head back to school and the holiday season approaches. The food bank will need a community's assistance to get folks back on their feet, said Mira Scaro, Ozarks Food Harvest Board President. The Board of Directors is proud to support Ozarks Food Harvest's ongoing commitment to end hunger across southwest Missouri. Ozarks Food Harvest reported that food insecurity in southwest Missouri has increased 40% over the past 3 years, representing an additional 61,000 people experiencing difficulty accessing enough food. Families in southwest Missouri continue to face challenges as the cost of housing, groceries, and childcare remains high, said Bart Brown, President and CEO of Ozarks Food Harvest. The food bank dedicated to ending hunger by helping our neighbors in southwest Missouri put food on the table. Through its network of 270 charitable partners, Ozarks Food Harvest said it serves more than 90,000 unduplicated children, families, and seniors each month across southwest Missouri.
We are currently broadcasting live from the Blind Community Thrift Store situated at 2713 North Kansas Expressway in Springfield, Missouri. For additional information about our store, please visit our official website at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. To explore more of our video content, including movie reviews with Matt and Meredith, adaptive technology training videos, and other informative material, please visit our YouTube channel by searching for Blind Community Thrift Store. Our organization is dedicated to supporting the blind community through various initiatives, and our online platforms serve as valuable resources for community engagement and education. And in some exciting news, Springfield is likely to be part of the 2028 Olympic Torch Relay. Marta Mees with the Springfield Newsletter brings us this story that says Springfield may be more than 1,600 miles away from Los Angeles, but the Olympic Games hosted by the City of Angels in 2028 will likely bring a piece of the international event to the Ozarks. Ahead of the 2028 Summer Olympic Game opening, Springfield is expected to be among the cities to host the Olympic torch as it makes its way for the first time in history through all 50 states. On Monday, August 24th, Springfield City Council will consider an Olympic torch relay agreement with the 2028 Los Angeles Olympic and Paralympic Committee. Through the agreement, Springfield would be showcased on the international stage by the games, while the city would provide support services free of charge to help with staging and ensure the relay's leg through the city runs smoothly. The relay would take place ahead of the opening ceremony on July 14th, 2028. According to the agreement, the city would have to establish a community task force composed of relevant stakeholders and a law enforcement representative. LA 28 would provide a community planning guide to help the city and the task force planning process with best practices for operations, including environmental sustainability efforts. Following is a photo of the LA 28 Olympic Games cauldron that was lit during a ceremonial lighting in Los Angeles, where the LA Summer Games will take place from July 14th to 30th in 2028. Ticket sales for that did open globally back on April 9th of this year. The agreement also notes the city and the task force will be able to select the torchbearers to carry the Olympic flame through Springfield. The number of torchbearers would be determined by the Olympic Games, however, and the people selected would have to meet criteria set by LA 28 and pass a security background check. According to the agreement, political candidates and elected officials will not be eligible for torchbearer selection. The route of the relay within Springfield would be determined in collaboration between LA 28 and the city and its task force. The agreement also includes an addendum regarding a cauldron lighting event, which puts the city in charge of identifying a site for such an event, subject to LA 28 approval. This event would include entry free of charge for the general public and individuals greeting the flame on behalf of the city. The document does also state that any city without a cauldron lighting or celebration event will have the right to request a brief stop at a location with cultural, historic, or community significance to conduct a photo moment. The agreement also lays out the city's responsibilities for traffic management and public safety planning, organization of relay media events and marketing promotions, and providing of emergency medical services. The document also includes provisions that would waive expenses to the Olympic Games for any necessary permits and for a cauldron lighting event, identify appropriate overnight parking areas, provide access to city-owned vehicle wash facilities and electric vehicle charging stations, and provide security presence at hotels and parking sites. The possible participation in LA 28 comes on the heels of Springfield being selected for the kickoff of the National Route 66 Centennial Celebration in April that featured several events, including a live broadcast of NBC's Third Hour of Today from downtown. Council will hold a public hearing on the agreement at its Monday meeting, with a final vote on the matter anticipated at its following meeting on September 8th. Council meetings take place at 6:30 p.m. at the Springfield Regional Police and Fire Training Center at 2620 West Battlefield Road. The full agenda for meetings can be found on the city's website. That is www.springfieldmo.gov. So let's talk a little bit about Springfield's Olympic history. While the Olympic torch has never come through Springfield itself, the region still has had its ties to the flame throughout history. For the 1996 Summer Olympic Games in Atlanta, Price Keller of Battlefield was selected as one of the torchbearers for the relay that came through Missouri and Cape Girardeau, according to News Leader Archives. Then, for the 2002 Winter Olympics in Salt Lake City, Silver Dollar City co-founder Peter Herschend and Carol Cruz, a city utilities director of transit at the time, were among those running with the torch on its route through Missouri. That sounds really interesting. I hope the city council decides to move forward.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Especially with everything that's been happening with Springfield lately, you know.
Yeah, capitalize.
Missouri students show gains on MAP exams across subjects. Missouri students posted modest gains on several statewide assessments during the 2025-26 school year, according to preliminary Missouri Assessment Program results presented at the State Board of Education meeting, according to a community announcement. The Department of Elementary and Secondary Education reported improvements in English language arts, government, mathematics, and science across both grade level and high school end-of-course assessments. We're seeing steady progress thanks to the hard work of students, educators, and family, Interim Commissioner of Education Stacy Priest said. There's more to do, but these results show upward momentum in classrooms across the state. MAP assessments measure how well students demonstrate their understanding of Missouri learning standards. The results provide information about student learning at the student, school, and district levels. The state requires annual English language arts and mathematics testing for students in grades 3 to 8 and one assessment in high school. Science testing is required once in elementary school, once in middle school, and once again in high school. A government assessment is required in high school. Several assessments showed year-over-year increases in student proficiency, according to the announcement. Along the largest gains, grade 6 mathematics proficiency increased 3 percentage points to 48.9%. Grade 8 science proficiency rose more than 4 percentage points to a 43.9%. English 2 proficiency increased more than 5 percentage points to 58.4%, and biology proficiency climbed more than 3 percentage points to a 40.6%. State education officials said the preliminary results indicate continued academic progress while highlighting areas where additional improvement is still needed.
And we have several obituaries to announce this week. First up, the Stars over Cheyenne, Wyoming danced the night of August 30th, 1938, when Mary Claire Osborne was born. The only child of Lewis Allen Osborne and Clara Christine Larson Osborne, Mary lived a life of service to others, devotion to many causes, and spent as much time outside as she could. She died peacefully, surrounded by her children and a grandson, on Monday, July 20th, 2026, in mid-Missouri. The Stars danced that night, too, in celebration of a life well lived. A service was held Tuesday, August 18th at 11 a.m. at Messiah Lutheran Church. Memorials are suggested to Messiah Lutheran Church, the Sierra Club, or to a charity of the donor's choice that corresponds to Mary's lifelong passions of women's rights, peace, the environment, voting rights, education and children's rights, literacy, the arts, public radio, and broadcasting. Sarah Catherine Kathy Williams, age 91, of Springfield, Missouri, passed away on August 16th, 2026 in Springfield, Missouri. Kathy will be lovingly remembered by her family and friends for her strong spirit, generous heart, sense of humor, and love of family. Per Kathy's wishes, no formal funeral will be performed, but a brief graveside gathering will be held at Hazelwood Cemetery in Springfield, Missouri, on a date to be determined to reunite her ashes with Curtis's. Online condolences can be left at gormanscharf.com. Doris Irene Jackson, aged 83, of Rogersville, Missouri, passed away on August 19, 2026, after a long struggle with Alzheimer's. She will be laid to rest with her husband at Whitechapel Cemetery in Springfield, Missouri. The family and close friends will gather to celebrate her life at a date and location to be determined. Arthur Clyde Foreman, 97 years old, was born on June 16, 1929, and passed away peacefully on August 18, 2026, at 8:15 p.m. at Heritage Wellness and Rehabilitation Services in Independence, Missouri. Clyde was loved by everyone who knew him. Visitation will be held at 10 a.m. on Wednesday, August 26th, followed by an 11 a.m. service at Greenlawn North Funeral Home, with burial immediately following at the Greenlawn North Cemetery. In lieu of flowers, the family requests donations to Ascend Hospice at 783 Northeast Anderson Lane, Lee Summit, Missouri, 64064. Anita Creviston, formerly of Springfield, Missouri, passed away Sunday, August 16th in Little Rock, Arkansas. She is survived by 7 children, their families, and 1 sister. Services will be held at 1:30 p.m. Thursday, August 27th at Holy Souls Catholic Church in Little Rock. The Rosary service will be held at 1 p.m. Arrangements are by Hot Springs Funeral Home. Online condolences can be left at www.hotspringsfh.com. Our beloved mother, Nadine Ann Bridges of Springfield, Missouri, passed away August 17th, 2026. A celebration of her life on August 29th, 2026, from 1 to 4 p.m. will be held at Crossway Baptist Church at 2900 North Barnes Avenue in Springfield, Missouri. Our condolences go to the family and friends of all of those mourning this week.
Springfield study aims to extend street life and cut costs. Springfield is launching a citywide pavement assessment that will help determine where street maintenance dollars can have the greatest impact and extend the life of roads across the city. Beginning the week of August 17th, Springfield Public Works will evaluate all 1,770 lane miles of city-maintained roadways, according to a community announcement. The updated data will help guide maintenance and rehabilitation decisions during the next several years while supporting efforts to maximize taxpayer-funded transportation and investments. The assessment will be conducted by Contractor Information Management Services, which will use a specialized vehicle to measure pavement surface conditions, smoothness, and ride quality. The process is expected to take about 3 to 4 weeks. Public Works Assistant Director Tom Dancy said the assessment provides data needed to make more cost-effective infrastructure decisions. Maintaining a street before it reaches poor condition is significantly more cost-effective than waiting until it requires major reconstruction. The assessment gives us objective data to help make those decisions and get the greatest long-term value for the funding our community has invested in its streets. The information collected will be used to calculate a pavement condition index, or PCI, rating for each roadway segment. The city conducts the evaluation about every 3 years to monitor changing roadway conditions, review the performance of previous maintenance treatments, and develop future maintenance plans. City officials say the assessment supports a pavement preservation strategy focused on extending roadway life while reducing long-term costs. Rather than repairing streets solely based on which are in the worst condition, Public Works considers whether preventative treatments can prolong the life of the roads before more expensive rehabilitation or reconstruction becomes necessary. A roadway in fair condition, for example, may benefit from a low-cost treatment that adds years of service life. Delaying repairs until the pavement deteriorates further can significantly increase cost. When prioritizing projects, the city considers pavement conditions along with traffic volume, roadway classification, pavement performance, and broader transportation system needs. Potential treatment include asphalt mill and overlay, crack sealing, microsurfacing, rejuvenator applications, and concrete street repairs. Street operations crews also perform maintenance work throughout the year to help preserve infrastructure and maintain safe travel conditions. The Street Operations Division goal is provided some form of roadway treatment to 10% of the city-managed roadway network each year. Pavement maintenance and rehabilitation projects are funded primarily through Springfield's major street resurfacing and rehabilitation program. The program is supported by the voter-approved 1/8 cent transportation sales tax and 1/4 cent capital improvement sales tax.
Two Missouri ballot fights are heading to the Supreme Court. The Missouri Independent brings us this story through the Springfield Daily Citizen that says two major fights over Missouri's November ballot are now headed to the state Supreme Court. Cole County Circuit Judge Daniel Green sided with Secretary of State Denny Hoskins in both cases Wednesday, rejecting a referendum on Missouri's new congressional map and a proposed constitutional amendment aimed at limiting lawmakers' ability to undo voter-approved measures. In the redistricting case, Green ruled Missouri's referendum provisions do not apply to congressional maps and ordered the gerrymandered map passed by lawmakers to remain in effect for the November election. In the second case, he upheld Hoskins' rejection of the initiative, finding it violated the state constitution's single subject requirement and other provisions. The rulings are a significant win for Hoskins, but not the final word. The Missouri Supreme Court will now decide whether either measure reaches voters this fall. The Missouri Constitution's provisions allowing a referendum on any act of the legislature do not extend that power to laws establishing congressional districts, Cole County Circuit Judge Daniel Green ruled August 19th. Delivering his decision just a few hours after conducting a trial in the case, Green wrote that to allow a referendum on redistricting, the section establishing the referendum power isn't the only section that applies. Quote, that provision at most merely raises but does not answer the question whether the referendum power extends to congressional redistricting, a domain, the Missouri Constitution, and the U.S. Constitution separately and specifically assigned to the General Assembly, Green wrote. The ruling accepts in whole the arguments advanced to defend the Secretary of State Denny Hoskins' decision that the referendum, while containing the correct number of signatures to qualify for the ballot, seeks to accomplish an unconstitutional goal. In court, attorneys representing Hoskins and the Republican Party argued that the map gerrymandered in 2025 to give Republicans an edge in the 5th District was not subject to a referendum. People Not Politicians turned in 305,000 signatures in December, and after months of litigation and waiting for Hoskins, initiated the lawsuit heard Wednesday. Green's ruling is just the first step in the process for determining Missouri law on a redistricting referendum, said Richard Von Glan, executive director of People Not Politicians, in a statement Wednesday afternoon. The most important thing that happened today is that there was a ruling, Von Glan said. The state has tried to slow down the judicial process for months, and now that we are out of Cole County, the real decision will be made. For more details, you can read that full story from the Missouri Independent, and that is at MissouriIndependent.com. A proposal to limit the legislature's power to alter or repeal measures passed by initiative should not be on Missouri's November ballot because it, quote, impermissibly constricts the legislative freedom to make new laws reflecting new views, a Cole County judge ruled Wednesday. The proposal, which would be Amendment 6 on the November 3rd ballot if Wednesday's decision is reversed on appeal, violates the Missouri Constitution by combining multiple subjects and its limits on future freedom, Circuit Judge Daniel Green ruled. Instead of addressing a single subject tied to a single article in the Missouri Constitution, the initiative makes sweeping reforms affecting multiple provisions of the Missouri Constitution, Green wrote. Green ruled a day after conducting a 1-hour trial on Secretary of State Denny Hoskins' decision not to allow the proposal on the ballot. The ruling upheld all of Hoskins' reasons for denying a ballot slot to the initiative proposed by the Political Action Committee, Respect Mo Voters. Respect Mo Voters turned in 335,000 signatures, and local election authorities found there were enough to qualify for the ballot. Respect Mo Voters immediately appealed Green's decision to the Western District Court of Appeals. That would be where it would stay in most situations, but the Missouri Supreme Court on Tuesday reached out to transfer from the appeals court to take over an appeal in a redistricting referendum lawsuit. We are appealing, and we are confident that the courts will ultimately uphold the voices of more than 367,000 Missourians and let the people decide, said former state senator Bob Johnson, a Lee Summit Republican who has helped promote the Respect Mo Voters campaign. Those Missourians signed a petition, followed Missouri's initiative petition process, and deserve the opportunity to decide the measure for themselves to make it harder for politicians to overturn what voters decided. The appeal process must be finished by September 8th, the last day for courts to add measures to the November ballot. For more details, you can read the full story from the Missouri Independent, and again, that is at MissouriIndependent.com.
Springfield News leader, rural Missouri residents asked to weigh in on legal access. Missouri residents in rural counties are being asked to share their experiences finding legal representation as the Missouri Bar gathers information about access to legal services across the state. The statewide organization of Missouri Lawyers has launched a public survey focused on legal service accessibility in rural communities, according to the community announcement. The survey seeks feedback from people who have hired lawyers or attempted to obtain legal assistance. Residents can participate through the end of fall at www.surveymonkey.com/r/rural legal survey. Individual responses will remain anonymous and will not be made public. Survey questions include whether participants have struggled to find a lawyer, how far they will be willing to travel for legal services, and whether they would consider virtual legal appointments. The Missouri Bar said the information collected will help its leadership evaluate potential policies and programs related to attorney availability in rural areas. Across Missouri, we are hearing real concerns about access to legal services in rural communities, said Shelley Dreyer, 2024-2025 Missouri Bar president. While we know there are challenges, we don't yet fully understand the scope of the issue. Dreyer, who practices in Joplin, is co-chairing a special committee on rural practice with 2nd Judicial Circuit Judge Corey Moon. Moon serves on the Missouri Bar Board of Governors and lives in rural northeast Missouri. More than 30 lawyers from around the state serve on the committee, which launched in 2025. In addition to the public survey, the group is conducting surveys and interviews with rural attorneys and judges. The Missouri Bar's mission is to improve the lives of Missourians. That's why the committee's work is so important. It brings together data, perspectives, and determine whether a shortage of attorneys exists in rural Missouri and what it means for access to justice.
And schools and police are going to focus on safety for pedestrians and school buses. Joe Hadsall with Springfield Daily Citizen brings us this story that says, in anticipation of a new school year, Springfield's public school district and law enforcement agencies are emphasizing driver safety as school buses and walkers return to the roads. The first day of school is Tuesday, August 25th. That's coming right up. Springfield Public Schools has partnered with the Springfield Police Department and Greene County Sheriff's Office to raise awareness about watching for pedestrians and driving safely around school buses. Throughout August and September, officers with SPD's traffic unit will focus on watching for stop arm violations and speeding in school zones. Additionally, the agencies have produced campaign of public service announcements that will appear on social media and more. Drivers are not allowed to pass a school bus when its stop arm is extended and its lights are flashing. This is a shared responsibility, said Jim Farrell, SBS Chief of School Police, in a press release. Whether you're a parent, a student, or a driver passing through a school zone, your choices make a difference in keeping children safe. SPS is in the second year of a 3-year expansion of its transportation services. The ultimate goal of the plan is to offer busing to more students in middle schools and magnet schools. During the second year, more students will be able to get rides to and from SPS choice programs such as Academy of Exploration, Wolf, Ag Academy, and more. SPS has contracted with EverDriven to pick up students in more remote and rural areas in order to make its school bus routes more efficient and streamlined. The department operates 104 buses with drivers who handle 3 tiers of arrival and departure times. Tier number 1 starts at 7:20 a.m. and ends at 2:20 p.m. Tier number 2 starts at 8:10 p.m. and ends at 3:10 p.m. Tier number 3 starts at 9 a.m. and ends at 4 p.m.
Here we have things to do this weekend in Springfield Mo. It's official, all of our local schools go back next week, whether you're a parent thrilled to get some free time back, wondering how summer flew by so fast, or somewhere in between, it's here. With all the focus on back to school and fall festival season right around the corner, this time of year tends to be a bit quieter event-wise. Still, I found a nice variety of events worthy of a spot on your calendar. A family-friendly mud run and baby goat yoga on a farm, introductory classes on bird watching and geocaching, plus stand-up comedy, a paired beer dinner at Finley Farms, a promo-packed Cardinals game, and more. Speaking of events, the 417 team just wrapped up Biz 417's annual Ladies Who Launch, which somehow gets better every year. If you've never been, mentally bookmark it now for July 21st through the 22nd, 2027. We announced a big change you won't want to miss. Today we have Brian Bates at the Springfield Comedy Club. Tickets starting at $30 and the show starts at 7 p.m. Brian Bates' foray into stand-up comedy was anything but traditional. Instead of giggling his way through clubs in Chicago or New York, he spent the first 43 years of his life in corporate America. He's done multiple specials and was a founding member of the popular The Nateland podcast. Saturday, tomorrow, August 22nd, we have Got Mud, Run. Brookline Park and Republic, admission starts at $40 and the mud run starts at 8:30 a.m. Beat the heat with this messy, muddy, epic obstacle course race. Register in the group, family, youth, or adults division. Entry fees include a t-shirt, medal, food and drinks. The race starts with staggered rush times from 8:30 to 11:45 a.m. We also have Goat Yoga End of Summer Experience. Area 95 Farms in Chadwick. Looks like tickets start at $30 and it goes from 10 to 11:15 a.m. There's just something about baby goats and yoga. They're the perfect combo for this event. Simply bring a yoga mat and water and show up ready to smile and relax. No experience required. Yoga mats are available for rent on site for $5. Learn to geocache. Stockton State Park up at Dadeville from 9 to 11. If you've wondered what geocaching is, think scavenger hunt in the woods, or just want to get out of the house for a couple hours, this event is for all of you. Geocaching expert will guide you through finding your first one, then you'll have time to find some on your own. Meet the East Campground Shower House. Live from downtown Park Central Square, free admission from 7 to 9 p.m. Come out and enjoy a classic low-key summer night, an outdoor concert in the heart of downtown. This week's headliner is Shape Eater with a unique sound combining new indie and psychedelic rock and roll. Bring a lawn chair or plan to dance and treat yourself to local concessions. Medicinal herb gardening at Finley Farms. Event tickets starting at $30 from 10 a.m. to noon. Farmer and herbalist Leslie McCleary will guide attendees on a walk through the garden, pointing out and explaining useful herbs that can be grown and used at home in the Ozarks, ages 16 and up. Then Tuesday, August 25th, we have paired beer dinner at the Garrison Patio. Finley Farms, tickets start at $95 from 6 to 8 p.m. Enjoy a relaxed riverside dinner, thoughtfully paired with beers from beloved Missouri breweries, 4x4, Schlafly, Piney River, and others. The 5-course menu includes an amuse-bouche, local charcuterie and salad, main, and dessert. Advanced registration highly recommended, ages 21 plus. Then we have Mahjong night at Cassidy Station, $20 per table from 6 to 8 p.m. Experienced Mahjong players round up some pals and head out to Cassidy Station. Hey Barn for a fun-filled night. Bring your mat and tiles and settle into play, laugh, and possibly make new friends. Drinks are available for purchase. Then on Wednesday, August 26th, is Wacky Wednesday with the Springfield Cardinals at Route 66 Stadium. Tickets starting at $11. 6:35 p.m. is when the game starts. Spend Wednesday at the ballpark. Tonight's game has several associated promos, including Wiener Wednesday, $2 ballpark franks and drinks, special for the 21 plus crowd. Wolf Wednesday, when dogs are welcome. Worship Wednesday, featuring a special pregame performance and a message from local faith-based organization. And Wacky Wig Wednesday, with wigs receiving a $2 discount. I know Thursday I'm going there. It'll be fun. It's the Chapel Roan night.
Oh, very fun. Let's see. We have a letter to the editor here for the Springfield Daily Citizen that says question 3 gives too much power to the Springfield City Council. This was written by Kevin Mueller here in Springfield. If you thought Missouri Amendments 4 and 5 were bad, take a look at what just happened in Springfield. On August 10th, the Springfield City Council unanimously voted during what its own printed agenda identified as an emergency bill to place 4 proposed amendments to the city charter before voters this November. One of those proposals, question 3, deserves especially close scrutiny because it raises the same broader issue Missourians were just asked to consider statewide. How much control should voters surrender over the rules that govern them? Springfield voters should take a hard look at question 3 before giving City Council broader control over the rules governing public purchasing. The city describes the proposal as a modernization and efficiency, but the actual ballot language would authorize City Council to, quote, fully establish purchasing by ordinance, including the organizational structure, thresholds, and types. That is more than an administrative update. It is a transfer of authority. Rules contained in Springfield's charter cannot simply be changed by City Council. Charter changes require approval of the voters. Rules established by ordinance can be changed later by a future council without another public vote. Question 3 does preserve competitive procurement requirements and extends them to additional purchasing methods, but that does not eliminate the concern. Purchasing thresholds, purchasing types, organizational structure, and approval authority are part of what determines how competitive procurement actually works. They can affect when formal bidding is required, who exercises purchasing authority, how purchases are reviewed, and what level of oversight applies. If question 3 passes, future councils could potentially change those details by ordinance without returning to the voters. That creates an obvious question. What prevents a future council from raising purchasing thresholds, expanding purchasing categories, or restructuring the process in ways that reduce meaningful competition, centralized review, or other safeguards? That does not mean abuse will occur. It means the charter should be written with the possibility of future abuse in mind. Good government is not built on trusting whoever happens to hold office today. It is built on rules strong enough to protect taxpayers regardless of who holds office tomorrow. If Springfield's current purchasing system is outdated, city officials should identify exactly what is broken, exactly what authority must be transferred, and exactly what safeguards will remain. Efficiency is not by itself a sufficient reason to move important controls from a voter-approved charter into ordinances that City Council can later change on its own. The central question is simple. Why should voters surrender control over purchasing rules they currently control through the charter? Earlier this month, Missouri voters overwhelmingly rejected Amendment 4, a proposed change to the state constitution that would have altered the rules governing citizens' ability to amend their own constitution. More than 80% voted no. Question 3 is not the same proposal, but the principle is worth remembering. Missouri voters just sent the government a powerful message. When officials ask citizens to surrender control over the rules that govern them, the burden is on government to prove why that transfer is necessary. Springfield City Hall should listen. The charter belongs to the people. Before voters give city council authority they may never again directly control, they deserve a clear explanation of what power is being transferred, what safeguards could be changed in the future, and why giving up that control is in the public's best interest. If you want to submit a letter to the editor, you can do that online at sgfcitizen.org.
Springfield Daily Citizen, jury sides with Hamra, partners in multi-million-dollar fraud lawsuit. Four well-known Springfield business people and members of the Queen City's upper crust spent the first week of June hunkered down in a Greene County courtroom as a horde of lawyers presented arguments in a lawsuit alleging fraud and asking for millions of dollars in damages. After the trial was extended, when both sides realized that they would need more time, it would be another 2 months until the four prominent Springfieldians heard the jury's verdict. In 2022, Rita Barron, owner of the architecture from Barron Design and Associates LLC, sued business partners Mike Hamra, CEO of Hamra Enterprises, and Ryan and Doug Hamilton, well-known Springfield housing developers. While the petition changed over the course of 4 years, in the claims brought to the jury, Barron alleged that her business partners breached their fiduciary duty to the low-income housing development companies the four individuals owned equally, Four Corners Development LLC and Hamilton Builders LLC. In a third claim, Barron alleged fraudulent conduct by an executive, Adam Horton, who held an operating role in both companies. In turn, the defendants brought counterclaims against Barron, including alleged breach of contract, unjust enrichment, and for equitable contribution. The company operates in a convoluted yet highly regulated industry where development companies like Four Corners bid for low-income housing tax credits from state government agencies, and construction companies like Hamilton Builders erect the multi-million-dollar housing project in multiple states. The lawsuit lasted over 4 years. The trial before Judge Nathan Taylor in Greene County Circuit Court lasted 9 days, split over a 3-month span. The jury reached its verdict on Friday, August 14th, after 2.5 hours of deliberation. On all 6 claims in the verdict, the jury sided with defendants Hamra, Horton, Ryan, and Doug Hamilton, and ultimately awarded a total of nearly $1.3 million in damages, compensation related to what are surely hefty lawyer fees and not yet been settled. A hearing will be scheduled before the judge enters the final judgment in the case. Hamra, Horton, and the Hamilton brothers were pleased with the jury's verdict and plan to continue building their respective companies, according to a collective statement emailed from their attorney, Kelly Farrell. We are pleased with the outcome, ready to turn the page and focus on what matters most, serving people in need of housing, supporting our employees, and moving our business forward. Barron's attorney, Taylor White of Kutak Rock, said his client plans to continue litigation efforts. We will pursue all available options, including an appeal. At its heart, the lawsuit includes Barron Hamra, the Hamilton brothers, and the companies of the four were equal partners in Four Corners Development and Hamilton Builders. Those companies operated in the low-income housing tax credits industry, which uses awarded government tax credits to fund, develop, and build low-income housing projects. Mike Hamra entered the LIHTC industry through his father, Sam Hamra, the Springfield business tycoon who died in June of 2024. Sam Hamra founded Hamra Enterprises in 1975 and opened its first Wendy's restaurant in Springfield in 1976. The Springfield-based company owns and operates nearly 200 Wendy's now, Panera Bread, and Noodle Co. restaurants across the country. It also operates 2 hotels and has developed real estate projects in Missouri, Illinois, Massachusetts, and Texas. Mike Hamra became the CEO of Hamra Enterprises back in 2011. Mike Hamra ran for Missouri governor in 2024, showing his influence extends beyond Springfield. In the Democratic primary, Hamra faced off against another Springfield candidate, Crystal Quaid. Hamra garnered about 23% of primary votes, falling short of Quaid's 50%. Sam Hamra had a statewide spotlight put on him in 2007 when the Columbia Tribune reported that Hamra wrote a letter to then Governor to then Governor Matt Blunt to complain that his housing projects were not getting enough support from the state commission responsible for distributing low-income housing tax credits. In the letter, Hammer reminded Blunt of the funds Hammer had raised for the Republicans' campaign and asked the commission's action be reversed, according to the Missouri Independent. The incident shows just how involved Sam Hammer and his businesses were in the LIHTC industry. Like Mike Hammer, Ryan, and Doug Hamilton got their start in the LIHTC industry through their father, Kenneth Hamilton, who founded Hamilton Properties Corporation in 1968. According to the company website, Kenneth Hamilton and Sam Hammer were business partners on a number of projects. Because their father's business associates, Mike Hammer and the Hamilton brothers, also entered into business together. Rita Barron started her architecture firm Barron Designs and Associates LLC in 2003, according to the company website. The architecture firm designs for a diverse array of industries, including medical, financial, government, corporate, restaurants, and senior and family affordable housing. Barron graduated from Drury University's Hammond School of Architecture in 1999 and was elected a trustee of the university in 2007. Barron Designs' portfolio include a number of Springfield properties like Silverleaf, the Preston, Gardner Capital, and the Hilton Garden Inn. Barron's business empire extends far beyond architecture. She is a partner and owner of multiple companies in multiple industries with an emphasis in development. She is a franchise of Marriott International and was previously a franchise of Einstein Brothers Bagels, according to biography posted to Drury's website. Around the 2000s, Barron started some architecture designs work for Sam Hammer companies with a few projects in the LIHTC industry. That meant that Mike Hammer and the Hamilton brothers and Barron played different roles in developing LIHTC projects, and a business network had been formed. The four individuals broke away from previous entities and formed Four Corners Development as equal partners, all with a 25% stake in company in 2011. Shortly after the four started the construction business, Hamilton Builders, with the same four-way split in ownership. The Four Corners would be the development company for LIHTC projects, and Hamilton Builders would serve as their general contractor on the projects. From 2011 to 2020, Four Corners developed low-income housing projects in multiple states, including Missouri, Kansas, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Texas, and Colorado. Hamilton Builders constructed the majority of those projects that Four Corners developed. LIHTC development is a convoluted world, and though it is heavily regulated, the process is complicated. The lawsuit examines the nature of the business relationships in the industry and asks the jury to understand the industry enough to reach a verdict after a 9-day trial split across June and August of 2026. The low-income housing tax credit subsidies and acquisition, construction, and rehabilitation of affordable rental housing for low and moderate income tenants, according to the Tax Policy Center at Urban Institute and Brookings Institution. The program was entered as part of the 1986 Tax Reform Act. The federal government issued tax credits to state governments, and state housing agencies award those credits to private developers for affordable housing projects. It is a competitive process, but every state has its own system of rules and regulations. In Missouri, the agency responsible for distributing the credits is the Missouri Housing Development Commission. Companies like Four Corners apply for tax credits on a specific project through the state agency responsible for distributing the credits. After a lengthy application process, the project is either declined or awarded an allotted amount of tax credits. Developers like Four Corners then sell those tax credits to finance the housing project. The companies that purchase those tax credits are the investors and also known as the limited partners in the project. Most investors in LIHTC projects are corporations that have sufficient income tax liability to fully use non-refundable tax credits, meaning those tax bills of those companies are big enough each year to fully use the credits, according to the Tax Policy Center. Investors take a backseat, hands-off position on the project, buying tax credits that come to fruition at different points in the project's decade-plus life cycle. Companies like Four Corners make their profits in developing the project, and investors hold a strict line on developers with many contingencies and contract clauses that put the risk of the development company. Investors have to have all their ducks in a row to sign off on the project, and any delay come of the developer's cuts. There are developer fees that are paid over the housing project's life cycle. This is why projects stay on the developer's books far after construction is completed and a management company takes over the project. The money the developer makes on the project is largely made up of developer fees. Those fees are the last to be paid out on a project after all the contractors and subcontractors are made whole and the cost overruns and the delays can be cut into an amount of ultimately makes off the project. Those developer fees can be deferred to a number of reasons, further complicating the timeline and process of the payout. Developers like Four Corners need construction companies to build the low-income housing project, and that's where contractors like the Hamilton Builders come in. For a number of years after Four Corners was started, Hamilton Builders was the contractor for all Four Corners projects in at least 3 states, Missouri, Texas, and Colorado. Hamilton Builders was responsible for the construction of the housing development, which included hiring a multitude of subcontractors and handling the invoices for construction. The low-income housing projects also needed an architect, and Barron's firm became the architect of record for Four Corners projects. Because a governmental agency is responsible for distributing tax credits, LIHTC is a heavily regulated industry with built-in checks for regulatory approval. Essentially, for a project to receive tax credits through a 10 to 20-year life cycle, the developer must prove through financial records that the project is being developed and constructed according to the plan that was approved by the regulator. Through the trial, attorneys on both sides spoke regularly of the gatekeepers in the industry. Those representing the defendants used the high regulatory nature of the industry to try and show that any financial records submitted in a pack for a specific project would have to have many set of eyes throughout the approval process. Four Corners started in 2011 and Hamilton Builders followed in 2014 with Baron Hammer and the Hamilton brothers as equal partners in each entity. It was revealed throughout the trial that during the early years of the companies there were few employees and the company was not aggressively bidding on projects like it later would. For a number of years, the companies were started. Four Corners and Hamilton Brothers were doing well, and all their partners received regular distributions that amounted to at least hundreds of thousands of dollars collectively. Then the companies got a little more aggressive, according to the testimony at the trial. Four Corners entered other states like Texas and Colorado, and Hamilton Builders entered those markets looking to construct multi-million-dollar housing projects quickly. The companies grew together, sharing staff and expenses operating out of the same Springfield office building. Enter Adam Horton, who became a central figure in the lawsuit. Even added to the suit as a defendant in early 2026, the jury's verdict was in favor of Horton and Barron's claim to fraudulent misrepresentation. Horton officially joined Four Corners in 2016 with more than a decade in the affordable housing industry, including employment stints at Garden Capital, BKD, and Associated Electric Cooperative, Inc. Horton is a certified public accountant and his previous experience has made him an ideal choice to help lead Four Corners into its next era of LIHTC industry. Horton worked on applications for projects, developed strategies for bidding new states, and quickly became an instrumental piece in both companies. Throughout this period, Horton ended up wearing many hats and was assigned multiple executive roles at different times, such as Chief Financial Officer and Chief Development Officer. The rosy business relations among the 4 partners of the LIHTC companies changed in late 2018 and into 2019 when the 4 members of Four Corners began to have disagreements regarding the running of the business, according to the original petition. The partners were still receiving cash distributions from the companies, but those distributions were far less than the early days. And on top of that, the partners were asked to inject cash into the companies in order to meet obligations. Some projects in new states like Texas had come with steep cost overruns, which had allegedly eaten into the company's profits and therefore the cash that could be distributed to partners, according to the testimony during trial. In that time frame, Barron alleges that it was the first time the company needed capital to meet its obligations. According to the lawsuit, after Barron asked for documentary support illustrating the cash flow problems and was not provided sufficient information, she was told the other partners in Four Corners that she did not want to continue the business relationship. It was also noted that Barron refused to put funds in to meet the company's obligations. This time frame quickly became known as the breakup and was referenced as such during the trial. The timeline of the breakup differed in various references, but it was agreed that there were company meetings that discussed a wind down of operations in summer of 2019. Barron officially filed the lawsuit in July of 2022. Following the breakup, all partners in Four Corners and Hamilton Builders agreed that the operations would begin to wind down. The lawsuit alleges that at this time, Mike Hammer and the Hamilton brothers started two new entities in the LIHTC development industry, a development company called Trinity Housing Development and a construction company called Hamilton Brothers Contracting. Barron was not a partner in the new entities, and her suit alleges that the new entities directly competed with Four Corners. The original petition also alleges that the new entities formed by Hammer and the Hamilton brothers used Four Corners resources. According to a court counterclaim filed, the Hamilton brothers allege that Barron started her own development company that worked on LIHTC development called Raga Properties that competed with Four Corners for low-income tax credit projects. According to operating agreement for Four Corners, all partners were allowed to be part of entities that competed with Four Corners in the LIHTC industry. No party signed a non-compete. During the wind-down period, it was decided that the LIHTC projects going forward that would fall under the Hammer Hamilton Enterprises, Trinity would serve as developer, and HBC as the general contractor. The entities that Barron was a member of, Four Corners and Hamilton Builders, operated out of the same office space as the Hammer Hamilton brother entities, Trinity and Hamilton Builders Contracting. The companies also shared resources, including employing the same staff members. With the wind down of Four Corners, Horton became the chief financial officer at Trinity. Other Four Corners employees, like Elizabeth Schultz and the previous CFO at Four Corners, worked for both Four Corners and Trinity during the wind down period. During the breakup, the partners were, by all impressions, amicable according to testimony and court documents. Trinity and HBC took off on projects in multiple states. Raga also became successful in the sphere. However, because of multi-year construction periods and the 10 to 20-year life cycle of the LIHTC developments, Four Corners and Hamilton Builders have had living books, with new projects nearing completion and developer fees coming in from established projects. The wind down of operations was not a simple flip of a switch. While in the wind-down period of Four Corners, the development industry had a shock along with the rest of the world. COVID-19 pandemic swept the world, distributing supply chains and shooting up costs of materials, as well as shaking the demand side of the industry as governmental mandates affected tenants' ability to pay rent. Evictions were outlawed. Pandemic brought steep cost overruns and uncertainty to the LIHTC sphere and allegedly hit Four Corners and Hamilton Builders hard. Hammer and the Hamilton brothers, as well as Horton, started new entities that were allegedly to ensure services and products got delivered and installed on the correct timeline in order to avoid cost overruns and further deferred development fees. In turn, the contractor and developer would pay those company fees per line item, would be able to offset the risk on contract according to the defendant's testimony. Not only were the companies and individuals at hand operating on a convoluted industry, the 4-year lawsuit and legal case resulting was extremely complicated. The docket for the case is lengthy and included thousands of pages of documents as evidence. Adding another layer of complexity, the suit had resulted in multiple claims that changed over time and were consolidated into one case this year. Barron, acting as the individual, sued the other individual partners, but also sued from a position as a partner in Four Corners. The jury was to remain uncompromised for the entirety of the break, refraining from discussing the case with anyone, reading any information about the case, and avoiding any media reposts that might include information about the case. On the last day of the first leg of the trial, a bailiff taped up the notebooks designed to single jurors and then taped them shut in a box that remained locked for the 2-month recess. The seal was broken in court upon the jury's return. There were motions for directed verdict, meaning both sides believed that the other did not provide sufficient evidence for some of their claims, and asked that the verdict ignore those claims. The petitioner voluntarily dropped some claims at the end of the trial. This resulted in a verdict that encompassed a total of 6 claims. After 9 days in court and a lawsuit with years of evidence, the jury had reached its verdict in a 2.5 hours, siding with the defendants Hammer, Horton, and Hamilton brothers in all 6 claims. The attorneys and Judge Taylor accepted the jury verdict, and the respective parties began to leave the courtroom. According to motions filed in the case, witness testimonies and attorney comments, attorney fees will be added to the damages in the suit. Court records note a hearing is required before the final judgment will be entered on the case. As of August 19th, there was no hearing scheduled.
And we discussed earlier that they are building a new Chipotle on the north side. Let's talk about Chipotle's plans for Ozark. Zoe McIntyre with Springfield Daily Citizen talks about Chipotle and Chick-fil-A considering futures there. Developers are eyeing South Ozark for future Chick-fil-A and Chipotle locations. Community Development Director Randall Whitman confirmed that both companies have expressed interest in building the new Ozark Marketplace District. The plans are in review, he said. No permits have been issued for the projects. Chick-fil-A is considering a future location at 1737 West Waverly Street, while Chipotle is looking at 1974 West Waverly Street, Whitman said. Ozark Mayor Dawn Currents and Alderwoman Jean Ann Hutchinson, Ward 2, briefly pointed out the social media buzz around the restaurants during a Monday, August 17th meeting, prompting Whitman to comment that he, quote, probably got about 25 text messages today about the Chick-fil-A and Chipotle. We usually don't get too excited until the permit's actually issued because it's not uncommon for somebody to get right to the end and then wait to pull the permit. But they've applied. Yes, he said during the meeting. The Board of Aldermen voted in April 2025 to establish the Ozark Marketplace as a community development district with a redevelopment plan and tax breaks to incentivize development on the property. Aldi, Plaza Tire, and Casey's were the first businesses to open on the site. Waffle House, Dutch Bros Coffee, and McDonald's are also working to develop future locations in the Ozark Marketplace.
And here we have history this day. Hawaii becomes the 50th state back in 1959. The modern United States receives its crowning star when President Dwight D. Eisenhower signs a proclamation admitting Hawaii into the Union as the 50th state. The president also issued an order for an American flag featuring 50 stars arranged in staggered rows, 5 6-star rows, and 4 5-star rows. The new flag became official July 4th in 1960. The first known settlers of the Hawaii Islands were Polynesian voyagers who arrived sometime in the 8th century. In 1778, explorer James Cook became the first documented European to arrive on the islands. In the mid-1830s, the first sugar plantation was established on Kauai, and the industry would expand through the century. Increasingly, missionaries and planters came to occupy the islands and brought about massive changes in Hawaii political, cultural, economic, and religious life. A couple of other things that happened on this day in history. Yellow fever breaks out in Philadelphia back in 1793. Nat Turner launches massive insurrection in Virginia in 1831. Lincoln-Douglas debates began back in 1858. Christopher Robin's birthday is today in 1920 when he was born. The seeds of the United Nations are planted back in 1944. Athena Gibson becomes the first African American on the U.S. tennis tour back in 1950, and ending it in 1961 with Jomo Kenyatta, Kenyan independence leader, is freed. And then a couple other things. We have a couple of small holidays to celebrate today. Today is Hawaiian Shirt Day, National Brazilian Blowout Day, go get your hair done, Internet Self-Care Day, International Day of Remembrance and Tribute to the Victims of Terrorism, also National Kool-Aid Day, National Men's Grooming Day, you guys also get out there and get your hair done, National Report Up Coding Fraud Day, and then we also have National Senior Citizens Day, Spumoni Day, and Neo Aquino Day.
And Springfield economy sees continued growth and needs housing investment. Marta Mays brings us this story through the Springfield News Leader that says Southwest Missouri has a strong economy, experiencing growth beyond the state and national averages, but that does not mean it's without its challenges. On Wednesday, August 19th, the Springfield Business Development Corporation hosted its Economic Outlook event, where economist Charles Gaskin, Assistant Vice President at the Federal Bank of St. Louis, shared the current state of the economy and what's expected in the future. Overall, he said the economy has remained resilient despite uncertainties and inflation, largely as a result of large investments into artificial intelligence. Incorporation of AI into the workforce also means the economy can continue to grow, even when the labor force is shrinking due to an aging population and more stringent immigration policies, and unemployment remains stable. The economy continues to grow. Springfield saw an average of 3% year-over-year growth in its gross domestic product, outperforming averages for the state and nation as a whole. While the national economy also saw growth, Gaskin noted average rates mask more regional and local trends of smaller economies that are contracting in some parts of the country. He said this growth was largely due to the fact that income growth has slowed, yet consumption growth has remained stable. However, because of the higher prices of goods, there have been changes to the portion of consumption going to discretionary versus non-discretionary spending. If you look at the share of people's spending that's going to non-discretionary items versus going out to eat or going on a vacation, in 2025, about 75% of spending was non-discretionary spending, Gaskin said. The underlying trend over the last couple of years, even if I go back further, is a greater and greater share of households' budgets going to these non-discretionary purchases. He also highlighted that higher income households also drive the aggregate spending trends as their consumption habits are less impacted by inflation. Compared to 5 years ago, Gaskin said prices have gone up roughly 20%, with wages increasing about the same amount during that period. That means the real wage growth has remained unchanged since 2021. These compounding gains in the inflation rate have really eroded people's incomes and have led to basically no improvements in people's standard of living over the last 5 years, he said. This has also been true between workers who switch jobs versus those who remain at the same employer. He said wage increases are the same between the two groups, which is a good indicator of the workforce. When this thing inverts and goes in the opposite direction, that means people are getting laid off and taking jobs out of necessity, and they may actually be taking pay cuts as a result of that, Gaskin said. It does suggest that we have a pretty healthy labor market, and people who are out looking for jobs are finding, if they have the right skills, that they have great opportunities. Hiring has slowed down because the labor force is also slowing in growth. That has meant unemployment rates have remained the same. Inflation remains a central focus in the economy. Goods and energy prices are the driving force behind the higher inflation due to tariffs policies and war in the Middle East. Gaskin said even domestically, supply chain issues have also added strain to the market as reports note trucker shortages. He said the lack of growth in the supply to match the rate of growth in demand remains an issue. The uncertainty in economic policy has also hit a historic high, which poses a challenge in the future outlook. Going all the way back to the 1960s, these are the highest levels of uncertainty that we've had about economic policy in our history, and for many people in their lifetime, Gaskin said regarding the COVID-19 pandemic and start of 2025. If uncertainty diminishes further, that could be a really big boom for growth as we move into 2027. If it spikes further, that could lead to recessionary conditions. The Economist presented that expectations of inflation into the future have risen slightly, largely due to oil prices. Overall, financial conditions are looking optimistic for growth in 2027. Gaskin shared that in 2025, business and residential investments diverged, with residential dipping and business investment booming, largely thanks to AI development. For Springfield, residential investment is seen as key to the long-term success of the region. Following Gaskin's presentation, a panel consisting of Stephanie Hurt, Managing Director with Forbes Mazars Private Client, Ryan Murray, CEO of R.B. Murray Company, and Shane Cowger, President of Arvis Bank Springfield, shared insights of local economic trends. Murray said the region has seen strong business investments on large projects despite shrinking margins as cost of construction rise, which he said points to a confidence in the market. Chamber President Matt Morrow said affordability has been Springfield's competitive advantage for years. But, he said, recently the Queen City's housing cost position is less favorable compared to nearly every other nearby Midwestern community. Morrow noted it is not yet clear whether this is a one-year anomaly or part of a larger trend. This poses problems as Springfield tries to attract more investment and workers for growing or new companies moving into the area. Cowger agreed that the area is in need of additional affordable housing stock to entice workers to move to the region and retain those already here and ensure wages keep up with rising housing costs. A key part of this is also having the infrastructure that can support more residential development and higher density, he noted. Hurd also highlighted that it has been hard to fill more high-skill vacancies, and Springfield is in need of specifically skilled workforce. She, too, said it was important to retain younger employees who may think of bigger cities as greener pastures.
Springfield Business Journal, he is on. Steamy summer temps test food truck staff stamina. A summer weather proves to be a popular time for outdoor events. Local food trucks are present for most of those celebrations. However, operators of the mobile businesses say they're sweating it out lately amid the string of 90-plus degree days in what is typically the busiest season for their ventures. Springfield's average high in August is nearly 90 degrees, according to the National Weather Service. However, temperatures through much of the month have regularly been meeting or exceeding that mark. Richard Hyde, co-owner of the Chop Shop Burger, said with the forecasted temps don't look any cooler heading beyond the middle of the month. In business for over 3 years, Hyde said the summer's weather has been a challenge for his mobile eatery, which serves a variety of burgers, nachos, sweet treats such as fried Oreos and Twinkies. While he does have air conditioning in his trailer, it also contains a lot of heat-generating equipment. That includes 2 fryers, a 30-inch grill, and 2 cheese pumps for the nachos. The heat outside affects everything, whether it's your equipment or even people not wanting to get out in the heat, he said, noting the hot temperatures recently overheating his generators, causing them to keep shutting off. Hyde recently purchased a new trailer for about $40,000, which he said is better insulated than his old one, which struggled to keep the cool air from his conditioning from escaping. But it's going to be hot in there even with the AC running, he said, noting he's keeping his old trailer, but it's temporarily closed for renovations. Beyond the equipment impact is the toll the heat can take on the people working in the food trucks. Hyde, who employs 7 at the Chop Shop Burger, said heat-related illnesses impacted his staff last month. Over the 4th of July holiday, I had 2 of my employees get sick due to just the sheer heat in the trailer on the 2 different events, even with the AC running. Hyde said he stresses that his employees stay hydrated. He also keeps an ice bucket in the trailer. Staff will dip their towels in it to keep cool. Giotto Eatery and Catering LLC opened in 2024 and serves Italian cuisine. For Kelly and Hugh Ed Dampier, the married owners, summer heat in their food truck can be very unbearable. Kelly said their fryer essentially acts as a 400-degree heater in addition to the stovetop and the steamer. While their eatery has air conditioning, its effectiveness is impacted if they have to run on a generator instead of plugging into a power source. If you have an air conditioner that was really efficient, it's not efficient at all on a generator, she said, estimating the truck can get as hot as 130 degrees on summer's hottest days. It takes it down several notches, if you will. Still, the couple always weighs the cost of business financially and physically. We would probably want to do at least $500 on a regular basis, he said, of their desired money-making goals for visits to towns or events. The Chop Shop Burger was also stationed August 11th in the parking lot of Cox Health's Farrell Duncan Clinic across from Cox South Hospital. Hyde said the hot temperatures were likely a contributor to his sales being around 20% lower than normal at the location. Still, it surpassed his $500 goal. I don't ever want to do less than $500, he said, of sales at any given stop for his trailer. So whether that's an hour or 6 hours, to me, that's your break-even point. Hyde said his monthly goal in the trailer is to cook at least 20 times. Honestly, I don't think we've cooked less than 23 times per month, he said. While Hyde has already spent money on a new trailer, the Dampiers are considering an air-conditioned upgrade. They've started researching for a more efficient unit. But it would require drilling holes into the back of the trailer, Kelly said, estimating the air conditioning unit would be about $400 to $500. If we're going to be drilling holes in a trailer, I want it to be well worth what we would be gaining if we did that. And also on Springfield Business Journal, we have Open for Business Jane Young Agency. A June 1st ribbon-cutting ceremony with Nixa Chamber of Commerce marked the opening of Jane Young's agency new office at 755 West Ewan Road. Jane Young said she relocated her Allstate Insurance office in Nixa from 201 North Main Street in part to accommodate more room for her 8 employees. But she said Nixa also deserved to see something new for the Ewan Road building that had been vacant for over 5 years after former occupant Illinois Gentlemen's Club shuttered. Young said she and her husband Rob purchased the 10,000 square foot building last year, and Rio Contracting LLC was general contractor for the 6-month renovation project. Investment for the property and renovation was roughly $1.2 million. Young said adding her agency fills around 5,500 square feet, while her husband's business, Phone Home Leads LLC, occupies around 1,800 square feet. The second floor is currently vacant, she said. Jane Young Agency opened in Nixa in 2019, and its insurance coverage included auto, home, life, business, motorcycle, and boat.
Apologies, my computer is being a little slow here.
I could do another quick one on Springfield Business Journal.
You got it.
From the ground up, Phelps County Bank. The back of the historic former YMCA building at 417 South Jefferson Avenue is where most of the visible action is happening as the 1913 structure undergoes restoration inside and additions to the outside. The west side of the building will be the new customer entrance. Bank spokesperson Chris Wilkins described the renovated building as a full-service facility, saying customers will enjoy full banking services for all deposits and lending needs, with both drive-through and lobby services available. Phelps County Bank is an employee-owned financial institution based in Rolla, where its headquarters is in a similarly restored historic hotel building that once provided accommodations to Marilyn Monroe. According to past Springfield Business Journal reporting, 30,000 square feet of additions to the original building were torn down to restore it to its original footprint. In spring of 2023, SBJ reported that the bank officials paid $2.1 million for the building, with $4 million in renovations anticipated, though officials declined to provide updated investment numbers.
And it looks like the health department found some citations this week. Susan Shuk and Marta Meese with the Springfield News Leader bring us this information this week, where we learned that a Springfield convenience store was cited by Springfield Greene County Health Department food inspectors for keeping several expired over-the-counter medications on the shelf, with some 3 years past the expiration date, according to this week's inspection reports. Fast and Friendly number 19 at 3109 West Sunshine Street was cited during a routine inspection on August 17th for several over-the-counter medications past their expiration date. Those included children's ibuprofen and 13 rolls of cough drops that expired in February, 1 box of cold and flu relief medication that expired in January, 4 pouches of headache powder that expired in April 2023, and another 12 pouches that expired in April 2026. The convenience store was also cited for an open container of Texas chili located in a walk-in cooler that was observed with mold on it. This priority violation was corrected on site, with the product voluntarily discarded and the medication pulled and set aside to return to the vendor. Fast and Friendly was also cited for 2 non-priority violations: no test strips available on site to verify sanitizer concentration, and the back door leading to outside had a gap in the bottom left corner with daylight visible. Issues found during inspections fall into either priority or non-priority violations. Priority violations impact the safety of the food, such as cross-contamination between raw and ready-to-eat food, improper food temperature, and poor personal hygiene and employee health. Multiple priority violations can lead to an establishment being shut down. Non-priority violations alone do not directly affect food safety, such as dirty floors, sticky tabletops, or outside trash cans not being covered. Food inspections take place 1 to 3 times a year, depending on the type of food served, the population served, difficulty of food preparation, and past history. Restaurants preparing food from raw ingredients are inspected more often than convenience stores that serve only non-potentially hazardous foods, such as popcorn and soda, according to the Springfield Greene County Health Department. Each report identifies what was happening at the establishment at that time. Customers who want to know whether a violation is a one-time thing or a pattern are encouraged to refer to previous reports. So, some of the inspections from the past week: we have no violations at Amazing Nation, Arby's at 230 Southwest Bypass, Avanzari, Before and After Brewing, Blue Basil, Buc-ee's, Burn Boot Camp, We have Bush Country Cafe, which has no non-priority violations. They did have an observed sanitizer buckets had too low concentration of sanitizer, which was corrected on site.
You guys know where to go.
Let's see. We have 1 priority violation and 2 non-priority violations at Captain D's on National. 2 non-priority violations at Clearwater Cafe. 1 non-priority violation at Craft Sushi. No violations at Denny's in Stratford. Domino's at West Chestnut only had non-priority violations. We have heard all about the problems at Fast and Friendly number 19. And let's see, we've also got no violations at Freddy's on North Glenstone. No non-priority at Freddy's on West El Camino Drive. Lots of non-violations here as I scroll through at the end of our time together. 1 non-priority violation at the Maverick on South Campbell. Non-priority at Meals by Monica. For the most part, it looks like everyone else was pretty much in compliance this week. Oh, Price Cutter number 52 Deli on West Republic Road had some priority violations about cooler temperatures. And with that, we thank you for listening to the Blind Community Thrift Store Radio Reading Service. Tune in every week, Monday through Friday, on the Blind Community Thrift Store's YouTube channel at 10 a.m. for more up-to-date news from the Springfield News Leader, Springfield Daily Citizen, Springfield Business Journal, and 417 Magazine. Listen after we're live on the Audio Reader Network at www.reader.ku.edu. All broadcasts are played over KSMU subcarrier airwaves at 67 kilohertz on 91.1 from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Contact Audio Reader Network for information on receiving a pre-programmed radio.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
Enjoy your weekend.